Jiro here for Umbra Games with a review of Tetris Effect, exclusively on PlayStation 4. Tetris Effect was published and developed by the same teams that produced the phenomenal recreation of Res Infinite for PlayStation VR, and like it, Tetris Effect includes an optional VR mode. Since review footage comes out a little more steady and clean from a direct hookup instead of using VR, I'll be using that instead, but will include my usual VR ranking. You know, it's funny to think back in one's lifetime about what was commonplace that maybe isn't so much anymore. Feels like only yesterday when you asked someone if they played video games, they'd say, played some Tetris, being as it used to come even preloaded on PCs you purchased way back in the day. We've seen several evolutions of the game, as so many systems, from original Game Boy to NES to many versions released on PlayStation and Dreamcast, and most recently on console with 2017's Puyo Puyo Tetris crossover. We'll hit what makes Tetris Effect different, but first, just in case there are people out there without Tetris experience, let's cover the basics. From the game's establishment, there have been no addition or changes to the game's core blocks, or tetrominos. Each block is composed of 4 square blocks, and your job is to put them in order to create solid lines horizontally. You can rotate them clockwise and counterclockwise. The pieces continue to stack as you place them and are immune to gravity, which can leave gaping holes in your creation if you're not careful. As you continue to stack, you'll reach the top of the stage, and if you cross the boundary, your game is over. In traditional Tetris, as you clear lines, often in sets of 10, the game will increase your speed level, giving you less and less time to place your blocks. Most forms of Tetris have a next square showing you which piece will be coming next. You also are usually able to make blocks descend more quickly by pressing down and do instant placement by tapping up. Most incarnations give you score for placing pieces, higher score for placing them faster, and you get points for lines cleared, with the most points awarded for removing 4 lines at a time, a move known as the titular Tetris. With Tetris Effect, it's fairly easy to see from the get-go that same synesthetic quality that Res and Res Infinite boasted are present, and that is the melding of sound and visuals. Stages begin fairly mellow with atmospheric sounds and lighting, and each rotation of a tetromino will play a note or a sound that matches the background music. Depending on your mode and settings, the stage can evolve, adding additional visual and sound atmosphere with shifts in speed and intensity. If you're going to set out to play this game, I'd highly recommend starting with Journey Mode, which serves as a level-by-level single-player campaign, taking you through each of the game's stages and songs. Journey Mode has these stages in specific sets, and your score upon completing the set will be your total. If you lose any individual stage within the set, you'll restart from the beginning of that particular stage, but it also resets your score. So if you're working for those higher ratings, you'll have to practice until you can make it all the way through. Which, I always thought I was a pretty decent Tetris player, but I was lucky to get an A on some of these stages, and I think it goes to S, so obviously I have some more work to do. This campaign has 3 difficulty levels which require differing numbers of lines per stage, more as you go up, and the base speeds are more intense as you move up in difficulty as well. Now, there are 2 new mechanics which Journey Mode and a lot of the other game modes I'll touch on here in a minute present. The first is that you can save a piece. If a tetromino comes down the chute that you don't have a place for, or you get a line that you want to save for a Tetris, you can press L1 to put the piece to the side. You're allowed to do this once per descent, so if you press L1 to save a piece and the piece you had saved comes down, you can't trade it out again with the push of L1. This can help aid you in that ever-present struggle you feel waiting for that line to knock out some rows. Secondly, there's the zone. As you deplete lines, a meter to the left will begin to fill. You can trigger this and it will slow down time for you. As you remove lines in this mode, they'll temporarily fill up from the bottom, and your goal score-wise is to work toward an all clear, getting massive bonus points for each set of 4 lines you clear out without breaching the top. While this can save you if you're in a sticky situation, until you learn to use this for score purposes, you'll continue to rank lower, as all lines completed before your meter depletes don't count against the line total you need to make it to the next level, letting you really rack up those bonus points. Once you complete Journey Mode, it opens Theater Mode, where you can cycle through the stages and change their evolution and kinda just enjoy the show. Now onto Effect Modes, and there's actually quite a few. I won't hit each one in super detail, and I apologize if I leave anything out. First is Marathon Mode, where you try to get the highest score possible, playing in both the 150 line limit and the Endless Mode. Ultra is aiming for the best score you can get in 3 minutes, and Sprint is clearing 40 lines in the fastest time possible. Master is Super Fast Tetris. There's a Chill Marathon, which is a relaxed version of the Marathon mode where there's no game over. If you hit the top, you just start again with no waiting and it resets your score. Quick Play lets you choose any single stage with no game over. There are playlists which work atmospherically, playing 4 stages from any of the sea, wind, or world options. All Clears, trying to get as many all clears as possible before the time runs out, and combos the same, but for combos. Target Set Clears is digging for target blocks and hitting as many of them as possible. Countdown is using the eye blocks to score line clears, Purify is removing corrupted dark blocks as many as possible within 3 minutes, and Mystery has random things, mostly bad, that happen to you while playing a game and you just have to work to overcome those obstacles. A few of these modes also have an endless version as well. Each mode records a high score and your ranking. Completion of a game in all modes contributes to your player level, which as far as I've personally played just kind of unlocks new avatars where you can go to a world map, you can see other players and their levels as well as pings from players all over the world that are playing the game while cruising the globe. Rated is a frantic puzzle game. This version of Tetris actually hits a 90 out of 100. This may in fact be my definitive version of Tetris, and my go-to from now on. Now let's put it through the ranks of my virtual reality 5-star scale, where I use my personal points of what makes a good VR game to me. First is immersion. Being surrounded by the lights, and as the game recommends, using headphones or a good surround sound system really takes the atmosphere in this game to a new level. Just like Rez before it, it's easy to just lose yourself in the symphonic display of lights and sounds. Secondly, control. This version of Tetris is as crisp as ever, and there's no gimmicky VR control to it. You just use your base controller. Next is necessity of VR. This one is slightly tough with this game because with the lights off and the sound system booming, you can get an extremely relaxing immersive game of Tetris without VR. But adding the headset in, you get the added benefits of just having the atmosphere all around you, and it still gives it an edge. Interactivity. This is the game of Tetris. You're full on playing the game many of us have been playing for decades. Finally is quality. Monstars and Resonair obviously have a passion for the music and visual tie-ins, as their love for their remake of Rez in Rez Infinite showed, and here it does too. With the inclusion of all these modes and not just a shallow Tetris experience with just added visuals, this game is well worth its price tag. Thus, on my 5-star VR ranking, Tetris Effect claims all stars. So, overall, Tetris Effect features the same core gameplay of all the Tetrises that have come before, but with a ton of modes, an amazing synesthetic experience with a variety of tunes and art styles, a full-on campaign with stage ranking, and ranking and high score recording on all modes that increases your replay value. This is Jiro for Umbra Games. Thanks for watching.